Having a website is an extremely powerful tool, and in most industries out there, it's pretty much essential. So whether you're a business trying to find more customers, a fundraiser looking for donors, or just making a personal website for fun, for a wedding, or even for a personal portfolio, in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to make a beautiful professional website that is not only easy, beautiful, but also very affordable. So we're going to be using WordPress in this video, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But the first thing I want to say is congratulations on clicking on this tutorial. Watching this video is the first step to creating your online presence. Now, like I said, in this video, there's a couple different steps we're going to go through. But starting off with the first thing, we are using WordPress. WordPress is the same powerful tool that is used by tons of major industries out there, from CNN to Disney to Sony, eBay, Etsy. Like, so many different websites are built on WordPress. And the big advantage of this is it doesn't have to be hard to make. I'm going to show you guys how to use a drag and drop editor, so you don't need to know any code at all. You don't need to understand any HTML. You don't have to know what's going on whatsoever. All you have to know is that you're able to drag and drop anything you want, and you're going to have a beautiful website at the end of this video. So there are really 4 steps in this video. The first step is choosing your domain. Now, a domain is going to be what people type in to get to your website. So for example, facebook.com, amazon.com, irs.gov, wikipedia.org, those are all examples of domains. And when you type them in and you hit enter, it's going to direct you to that website. So we'll talk about that in a second, but the second step is actually getting hosting. So I mentioned that we're building this website on something called WordPress. Now, you could think of WordPress like Microsoft Word. It's a way of making a document, or in this case, making a website, but you still need somewhere to save the website. You can't just save it on your own computer because sometimes you turn your computer off. So what we do is we get something called a host. Now, your host is going to be just a big bank of computers that are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and your website is saved on that. So when somebody types in your domain, they're directed to your website and they're able to see everything you have there. Now, the third step in this video is going to be the majority of this video, and this is actually customizing our website. I mentioned before that this is a really easy thing to do, and we will actually be able to import an entire website. So we have all of the pages, all of the images, the text, everything we need already laid out. It's a big template, it's easy to use. And then from there on, we can actually go in and customize anything we want. We can change images, add videos, add buttons and links. You can change the background, you can add blank pages. Like, you can really do anything you want. And like I said, we're gonna spend a large portion of this video talking about how to customize that. And then the fourth step is actually just publishing your website, so it's out there and people can actually start accessing your website. Now, with that being said, guys, the first step is actually to go down the first link in the description. So the first link below the like button is going to be how we're getting started here. So if you guys want to scroll down and copy and paste that into a new tab, or just click on it, it should open in a new tab, and we'll be getting going from there. Okay, so here we are on my desktop, and the first thing you want to do, like I said, is go on down and click the first link below the like button. It'll be the top of the description, and we should also be able to instead just type it into our browser if that's easier for you. And this is just going to make sure that we all start at the same page, have the same exact steps for this tutorial, and on top of that, make sure we all get the same discount. I'm going to show you guys, you're getting 90% off when you do this. So you're getting web hosting and a free domain. It's really a good deal, which is why one of the reasons, of course, we recommend Hostinger. It's as low as $1 per month, and it really performs exceptionally well, especially for that price. So when we go to start now, you'll see that we have a couple tabs on the top. Now, if you end up on online store or something like that, just head on back to web hosting. That's what we're looking for in this video. And you have 3 options here. So the cheapest one is very tempting, and for some people, this is exactly what you want, especially if it's like a personal portfolio or something small, a project maybe. This is definitely a great option. Now, for a lot of other people, if you're looking for some extra storage or some extra monthly visits, these are definitely some big advantages when moving up to the middle one, the premium one here. And of course, like I said, it comes with a free domain, Google Ads credit, unlimited bandwidth. Like, you get a lot of benefits with this one, where again, I would really recommend this for most people out there. But if you're really looking to push it, you could also upgrade to an even more, 100,000 monthly visits, and some other significant benefits down there. But like I said, for this video, I'm going to choose this one. Really, no matter which one you choose, it will be exactly the same throughout this tutorial, with the exception of getting the free domain, which you will not have on the cheapest one. So we're going to add this to cart. So then it's going to bring you to this page here, and you have 4 different options for how long you want your hosting to be prepaid. And so when you're checking out right now, you can just pay for 1 month and it's going to be $10. Obviously per month, it's going to be very expensive, renewing at $11 per month. And we can instead go to a longer one. Obviously, the longer you subscribe, the more money you're saving. And also when it also renews at a lower price. So please note that these are introductory prices. Once you renew, it's typically a little bit more expensive, which is why a lot of times it makes the most sense to just go as long as possible. So you can see that it's $10 for 1 month. It's $43 or $71. Sorry, it's $71 for 1 year. And then as we go to 2 years, it's only an extra $25. And then actually 4 years is even cheaper than 2 years. So there's really no reason to ever get 2 years at a time. Just save $5 and get 4 years. And that's what I'm going to do in this video right now. So as we go down, we have to create our account. So I'm going to sign up with my email. And of course, you can just sign in with Google if that's easier for you guys. And in fact, maybe I will do that right now. So we're just going to click on that, say, yes, we want to sign in with Google. And it makes things very easy in the future. Just connect it to your Gmail account. You can connect it to Facebook, whatever account you like to use the most. And so as we scroll down, another benefit I forgot to mention before is we actually do have a discount code for you. So if we click on yes, we have a code, you can just type in Santrel, and it goes from $90 down to $81. So saving 10% right there. That's one of the best codes out there as well. So you're going down to less than like $1. It's $1.70 per month. It's really hard to beat that price for hosting. So as we go down, we can type in our credit card. I'm going to do that right now. I'm not going to show you my credit card, obviously, but we'll hit submit secure payment, and I'll see you on the next page. All right, so then we end up on this page here, and we will just click on start now. So the next page wants to know what the name of our website is, which is going to be the same as the domain. So for example, Amazon is Amazon.com, Facebook is Facebook.com. And so we have 3 options here. We can buy a new domain, although it comes with a free one, so I wouldn't do that. And we can also use an existing one. So if you already have a domain that you bought on GoDaddy or Google Domains or whatever else out there, you could do that over there. So I selected this one here. We're going to claim our free domain. And then down here, we can choose whatever we want. So if we want this to be Mike, or we want this to be Santrel tutorialwebsite.com, you can choose .online.com, whatever. I'm just going to type in .com. That's what we want. So we'll select that and we will search for this and see what it allows for this one. Sometimes we might have to choose something else, but it looks like that is available right now. So Santrel tutorialwebsite.com. I am going to say continue, and it's going to ask us what we want to do. So we could migrate a website if you have one. We're not interested in that. We're going to build a new website. And here, again, a lot of other options, but WordPress is by far the best way to do this. So we are going to be selecting WordPress here. Now, keep in mind, if you're interested in using WooCommerce, you can do that now, or we can actually add that later, and it's just as easy to do. Now, here we have to create our WordPress account. Definitely do not forget this, because you'll be using this to sign into your WordPress account anytime you go to the dashboard to add a new blog or edit your website or really do anything out there. This is going to be your new password pretty much from now on. So I'm going to, let's use a strong password, and we are going to continue. And then down here, it's going to ask what template we want, what theme we want. I'm going to skip this. We don't need a template right now. I'll show you how to do that in a better way later on. Now, here, before we finish the setup, one quick thing you want to notice is actually the chosen location. So if you think your audience is going to be somewhere else in the world, this is where you'd want to change that, just to make sure that your servers are as close to your audience as possible to give them the best load time available. So North America is where I am. That's where my audience most likely would be. And so I'm going to finish setup with that. Of course, you could click the little pencil and change it if you thought it was going to be another location. So then it takes a couple minutes here to initialize setup. Something really great about Hostinger, again, is that it automatically installs WordPress, gets everything set up for you, and it's really a seamless process that is exceptionally easy. So that was less than 3 minutes. It looks like we're already done, but we're going to say, select some details here. Sure, it's a primary one, or is it for a company? We're going to say it's personal, my personal website. We will say next, and it wants to know a couple details about me. So I'm just going to type this in and click finish registration. And then, of course, the website is registered. Now, one of the benefits that you might want to consider of getting your own domain somewhere else is that you have a little bit more control over migrating your domain, setting up a Gmail. Like, you have a lot of other things that you could do, including things like more security with that. Now, with that being said, getting it through Hostinger is not a bad option for a lot of people. All right, so now we have a choice here. We can manage our WordPress website, or we can go to the control panel. So the first thing I want to do is go over to the control panel. We'll click on the right side here. opens it in a new tab so we can actually do both if we want. But starting off in the control panel, we have some options down here. So we can go and edit our website. That is going to bring us to the WordPress dashboard, essentially exactly where the other link would have taken us. So we'll get there in a second anyway. But as we go down here, there's a couple things we want to keep an eye on. First of all, let's get rid of the little notification there. We want to make sure that we have the latest version of the PHP. So we can say update that. And the latest right now looks like 7.4, and we're going to save that. You definitely want to make sure you're doing this because I actually at one point a couple of years ago had a website that I just forgot to update this for a while. And then one day I went on and I realized that my website had been completely down for 2 days, which meant I lost a lot of affiliate conversions. I lost a lot of traffic. There was a lot of problems. So definitely make sure you keep your PHP up to date. Something else we want to do is make sure that Lightspeed is active right here. This is going to increase the load speed, or really improve the load speed of your website, which effectively helps you rank higher in Google. And pretty much everybody wants to rank higher in Google. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot of other things we want to talk about here. We can talk about having your SSL, which will be right here, SSL certificate. We will go and set that up actually. So let's say install SSL. That way you can see, like, for example, right here on Hostinger, they have the little lock icon saying that it is secure. If you're on Google Chrome, it's somewhere over here, it says secure. And you want to make sure that you have that on your website. So right now it's automatically being installed. And so we're good. It looks like it's going to do this and it's ready to go. So we're going to say close. Now, other than that, we have some options here. If you want a daily backup, you'd pay $1 per month. Daily backup is a nice thing to have in case something goes wrong with your website. You can just roll back to a previous version. I'm not going to do that in this tutorial. I'm feeling risky. We're just going to go with what we have. Now we can actually go to edit our website, which is going to take us to the WordPress dashboard. Although there's one other step we want to do before we click on that, and that's head back over to your email. And you should have an email saying, please verify your email address. So go there, click on the link to verify your email address and say, yes, we want to verify the email. So now that I confirmed my email address, we should be able to go to edit website right here. And that should redirect us to WordPress, our WordPress dashboard, in fact, which is behind the scenes, everything we'll need to know when we're editing our website. Now, I'm going to get into everything you need to know here, what these things do. But first things first, you can see our actual website by clicking on the top. So when we hover over this, we can say visit site, and that'll bring us to this. And you see that's exactly what our website looks like. Obviously very bare right now, but it is live. It's a website out there that anybody could go to. Something else to note is it currently says not secure because the SSL has not yet been installed. We told it to do that, and it's going to automatically do that very shortly. So we're going to close out of this tab. Sorry, I really did not want to close out of that tab. We want to go back. Let's go back to edit the website. Here we are back in the dashboard. And so in the dashboard, we have a lot of things on the left side, but let's first go down here and start deleting the stuff that we don't want. So if we go to all posts, we can select this one and click on trash, and that is going to get rid of that. Just by default, they give you a lot of things that you really don't need. If we go down to pages, again, we have 2 more pages that are just sample pages. Select all of them, bulk actions, move to trash. Again, click apply. And I believe the same thing, we want to do that with appearance. See if we have any themes down here. Looks like we have a couple themes. We don't need those. But regardless, what I want to do right now is go to add new. And in add new, we want to type in Astra. And then here we have Astra, so we can go and install Astra. And this is going to be a theme. This is a theme that a lot of people use. Obviously, there's tons and tons of different themes. Astra is a really great one because it works very well with a lot of different designs, a lot of styles. You have a lot of freedom with this, and I'm going to show you how you can actually use Elementor in this to make it a really nice, easy drag and drop editor. So now we'll click activate, and it's going to create this. It's going to make this as our theme. You should see a banner right up here that says, thank you for installing Astra. If we click on get started, it'll activate that and it'll bring us over to the next page where we will have the option to start adding a predefined template. So a page builder, first of all, something we want to select. I know I'm talking kind of fast, but you have a couple options for your page builder. Elementor is the one we use. There's obviously these other 3 are very popular as well. Beaver is a really big one, but Elementor, out of all of these, is definitely the biggest one, the most common one from my experience, and also probably the easiest to use. So if we click on Elementor, it brings us into this option here where we can choose any one of these websites, and it'll just be a preloaded template, everything on there, and it's really easy to customize, and you can customize anything you want. But let's go to the top, and instead of searching all, let's instead click the drop down, and maybe we just want the free ones. So let's go to just the free ones here. And anything here, anyone that you want is going to be completely free. And you can look at them and change anything you want about any one of these, but choosing one that's similar to what you're interested in actually like having on your final website is a great way to get started here. So the less you have to change, obviously, the more work you're saving yourself and the better your website looks with almost no effort at all. So out of all of these, let's go down and say that, I don't know, which one looks interesting to you guys. Maybe this one's kind of interesting. I actually kind of like this one as well. Personally, this one's catching my eye and this one is catching my eye. So I think that I really like the little graphics here. I'm not sure how I would duplicate those graphics. This one I think is a lot easier to duplicate those little icons there. And you also have a really nice color scheme. I really like the idea of this one. So let's go with this one right now. And obviously when you click on it, it's going to show you each individual page. It comes with a home page, an about page, services, everything like that. And we're going to import the complete site. This will definitely take a minute to do that. And we can delete the previously imported site. So you can find that if you want. It's going to delete all the data from the previous site. So old pages, stuff like that. If you want to get rid of that, you can. You don't have to delete the old site if you don't want. So you know what, for this video, I already deleted everything. So we don't have anything to lose here. I'm just going to say import as it is. So import, and it definitely takes a second because we are installing Elementor. So it's a really easy way to get the plugin. Just by default, it's automatically going to be installed. And again, I'll show you how to use that later on in the video. And then it says it's ready to go. So we can go and click on visit site, and it's obviously going to open a new tab and show us the entire website. So in just a matter of minutes, we've already made or imported an entire website. Actually, I didn't realize it had that really cool parallax effect. I really like that even more now. And as you go down, you see that obviously we can customize everything about this, but it already looks really good. We have little shadows showing up behind these when you hover. There's tons and tons of stuff that saves you so much work. All of these, nice little animation there. And this website really looks great considering it's free and we haven't paid for anything except our hosting so far. So once you get here, we can go to edit with Elementor. You'll see that on the top. And so if you click on that, it'll bring you into the editor for this page. And so once you're in the editor, we'll talk more about everything you can do here in a second, but essentially you're able to customize anything. Double click on this and you can change whatever the text says. You can also click on the pencil icon and change all kinds of stuff. The formatting of it, if it's right aligned, left aligned, lots and lots of stuff like that. And so as we go down, you'll see that there are quite a few things we can change. I'll talk about how this is structured and how to make a new page in general, but I don't want to get quite into the little details of this just yet. So let's start off back over on the WordPress dashboard. So from here, we can click on the three little bars and go down to exit to dashboard. It'll bring us back to our WordPress dashboard. Let's get out of that. Click on the WordPress logo. And from the WordPress dashboard, the first thing I want to do is actually talk about what pages we want on our website. So right now, it came with these pages, but let's say maybe we don't want a gallery page. If you don't want a gallery page, you could click trash, or you could maybe repurpose that and make it a different page by renaming it. But I'm going to put this one in the trash. We don't need that one. And maybe instead we want to have another one that is going to be a privacy policy. So I can go and add new, and adding a new page, we can do it completely from scratch. I'll say edit with Elementor, and this page is just going to be our privacy policy. In my opinion, starting with a blank page is a really easy way to experiment with Elementor and start to learn how it works. So I recommend you do this as well, even if you end up deleting the page in the long run. But like I said, it could save you some time if you don't end up breaking other pages. So I want to show you guys how you can do things right here. And the first thing is, if you wanted a full-blown page, you could click on this little icon here. So this will be allowing you to import entire templates for the page. And in many ways, this could be, really, really useful. You kind of want to stick with the same theme though. So if you remember what theme you used, you could go down and find one of those pages. It's really no different than duplicating a different page. And I can show you that later on in the video. But like I said, let's start off with a blank one here and start figuring out how this actually works. So the way it works is with different sections. We have one section right here that has nothing in it yet. That's what the dotted line is showing. And we can click any one of these elements here and drag it over into there. So let's say we start with the heading and we will just drop it right there. And this heading, if we double click on it and then say Control A, we can name this heading whatever we want. So we are going to call this privacy policy. And that is our heading. Now you see it's outlined in blue here. When I hover, that is the new section. So we have the entire section outlined there and another, blank section down here if we want to add elements there. Now, this is a single column. As you can see on the left side, this little icon here is showing us that it is a single column. So there are 3 tiers here. You have the section, the column, and then the element within that. So the section is outlined with this little bar right here. The column is outlined with this little gray dotted line, and then the element has this little pencil to show you where that is there. Now, you can click on any one of those to edit that one. So click on this, edit the column, click on the pencil to edit the text in the middle, or of course, just double click on the text and you're editing that as it is. Now, if we want this to be, let's say, centered, we can click on the pencil icon, we can go to style, and we can actually choose, or sorry, not style, it was within content on the bottom, we can go to center. We can also choose, maybe this is a primary header, which it obviously is. So H1 makes sense for this. We can change the size of it. We can make it extra large, which it already was. We can go to default, which is going to be larger for this page. And we can change things in style. If you want to change the color, if you want to change the font, I don't recommend changing the font too much here. It's easier to do that across your entire website by changing the font for your whole theme. That we can go to advanced and you can change all kinds of stuff that I'll show you later on with other things because margin and padding are relatively hard to see with text like this. So if we go back to the little grid icon there, we can start adding some other stuff. Let's say below this, we want to add a short little, maybe a little thing. We'll say text editor. We can add that to the same section here. And when you hover, you can put it above or below. You cannot put it on the left or the right though. And I'll show you how you can actually do that using a slightly different method in a second. But adding it directly below is going to allow us to say what our privacy policy is. So it's going to be maybe a subtitle. We could say this section outlines our privacy policy. Obviously that's redundant, but I'm just showing you guys where you can add text. So again, here we want to make this centered so we can maybe change, let's close that. See, this is why I thought the title was going to be in the center. So for a text editor, you have to go to style to make this one centered. And again, you can change all the same stuff with this one. Now, if we want to use a different section, we can either drag stuff down here, or we can click on the little plus icon. So if we click on plus, you can choose how you want this section to be laid out. And this is going to allow you to have more than just one column. So if we want to have, say, 2 columns or 3 columns, let's say 3 columns. Now we have 3 columns here, as you can see outlined in the gray boxes. And if we hover between them, we get this little icon and we can drag and readjust the size of these. Now, this is a great way to make a narrower website. If you want your website to have a buffer on either side and you want it to be narrow like this, that's a great way to do that. You could also instead make it obviously 3 different columns and just have items in each column. So let's do that for now. And we want to say that, click on the little grid icon. Maybe we want an image on one side. We want an image over here. And maybe we want another image in the middle. Let's just put 3 images across the board here. So images, click and drag them, and the images end up there. Now we can click and drag these to make sure they're all approximately the same size. So it looks like maybe like right around there is going to give us what we want. Something like that. And now, so again, we have 3 columns. As you guys can really start to see this stuff. But if we click on the grid, we'll go down and we'll add a little title below them. So if we hover below them, we can add a title. And then below that, let's just say we want to add an intersection. Or not intersection, we want to add a text editor. And now you can see I put that in the wrong spot. So if we click on the pencil, you can click and drag it to wherever you want. And so this is a great way to start building your page, just start dragging things around. And you'll see that a lot of this stuff is really easy to edit. You can click and drag it anywhere you want by clicking on the pencil icon, or click and hold and drag it to anywhere on the entire page. Now, something that I accidentally did click on that you guys saw right there was the intersection. So if we want to have a subsection, so right here, if we want 2 columns below that, we can easily drop that right there. So now we have in this main column, we have 2 subcolumns, and we can add, again, in there whatever we want. We can add a little video in there. It's going to be really tiny, but regardless, that's how you can do stuff like that. And you can also resize this as well. So if we want to go and change the section, we can change the width right there and do whatever we want. Now, if for one reason or another you really like this section, you can click on the top and the 3 little dots, or the 6 dots rather. And if you right click on that, you can duplicate the section. And so duplicating that obviously here is going to give you exactly the same thing. And that's maybe exactly what you're looking for. Now, we can do more than just that though. We can change a lot with this section. So if we click on the little array, you can go and change maybe like the background, for example. So if we go to style, we can say the background right now is not showing anything, but we can go and make that a classic one. We can make it a video. We could make it a video from YouTube. It could be a slideshow. It could be a gradient. And so for now, let's just make this some kind of image. Let's see if we can find an image for the background. So if we go to classic, click on image, we will select files to upload. It looks like I have some from a previous example of a coffee shop. So we're going to use this one right here. That's going to be our new background. We're going to import the media, and it doesn't look good. It looks tiled. It looks not exactly what I did not want to happen. So we can change this by going to the position, and we can keep it in the center. So let's say center is where we want it. We want it to be it can be scroll or fixed. We're not going to do that. We could have no repeat anywhere, and that's going to be in the middle. And of course, the size, we could just have it to go auto, and that's not really going to do what we want. Cover is going to span across the entire thing, or we could go to contain if you wanted to be as large as possible without leaving any borders cut off. So in this situation, I wanted to go to cover. It's not looking great, but we could do a lot of other things on top of here. So we can add a background overlay, which means we can add either a color or maybe a gradient on the back to make it not look like a standard image. It's going to be easier to read your text then. So let's go and add a gradient. Now the gradient for this one, we could have the first color. Let's say the first color is white. So we'll go and click on white, as you can see here. And it's actually more like a pink. Let's go. Why is that not white? I want white. Okay, whatever. That's close enough. And we are going to say that's maybe the location of that one, sliding down here a little bit. And then the next color, I think you guys get the idea of how a gradient works. I'm not going to get into this too much, but you'll see that you can change how this gradient is set up by sliding these things, and you can change the direction of it. If you want it to be a radial one, it's obviously going to be circular then, or a linear one. And the linear one, you can change the angle by sliding this. So if we want it to be maybe like that there, and of course change the opacity to make it as visible as you want it to, so you can see the background image and also read your text in the most optimal way possible. Now, of course, if that's not enough for you, you can also go up here and go to some advanced settings. We can add some margins and padding. So when we're talking about a section, margin is going to add space on the outside, above and below it, and it's not going to stretch out this section. But padding, on the other hand, will do that. So if we click up on padding, it's going to make it larger on the top and the bottom, and also the right and left side. If we click on the link, it'll actually unlink these so we can change the right and left. We don't necessarily want padding on the left or the right side. We still want this to be centered without being smashed in too much, but we could make these, let's say like 150 above and 150 below. That way you just have more image space above and below that to spread things out a little bit so it's not cramped like it was. Now, that's something that maybe it doesn't necessarily work with this right here, but with an image background, a lot of times that's exactly what you're looking for. So then let's say the next section down here, we want this to be maybe just a big video. We just want this to be a whole video or just white space, whatever you're doing. We're going to make this a single column. We can go back to this, and we just want to add a spacer. So a spacer is a great way to just kind of fill this out, and it's not going to do anything. But if we make this larger, you'll see right now we have kind of a big canvas to work on. Now, if we added an image into this column, the image is going to be limited to the width of the column. But if we add a spacer, we can change the background and make that the image, or otherwise make it a video or whatever you're looking for, and it's going to span the entire width of the screen. So for this background, what I want to do is click on the little array of 6 dots. We can go to style, and we can go to the background type. Click on classic, click on image, and let's say we want this image right here. So we're going to insert the media, and just like we did before, we want it to not repeat, and we want it to cover the entire space. So that is not oriented exactly where I want it to. Maybe I can make this slightly smaller, and we can reposition this. So we can center or top center, move it around a little bit, maybe bottom center, center. Yeah, that's closer to what I want. I think you guys get the idea of how you could do this. This is not the best image for that. I thought it would be better, but maybe if you had the spacer was slightly larger, just like that, you can have a picture that is just doing nothing on your website other than being a picture and essentially acting like a spacer. Similarly, videos would work well. Whatever you're doing here works well. So let's quickly talk about some of the other elements we have here. And I think you guys kind of get the idea of essentially how Elementor works. We're going to get back to actually editing our website in a second. But again, this is just kind of a little side note showing you guys how this works. So spacers just kind of go between elements. So if we wanted a spacer to move the video down, spacer, click and drag, click and drag, and it's going to add space there. Self-explanatory. It makes sense. Now, if we go back to the array, we can add icons, Google Maps. Those are self-explanatory. A divider is just going to be a bar, or you can really make it a dotted line, whatever you're looking for. That is going to obviously be a divider. If we get Elementor Pro, there's a lot of other stuff we can get. And so Elementor Pro is something that, I recommend considering upgrading to that. On a lot of websites I've built, I've used Elementor Pro because it gives you cool things like some forms, some things to link to your blog posts, navigational menu things, animated headlines, a lot of stuff that is more, exciting for your website to use. A countdown timer, Facebook button, lots of things like that. So if you want to ever upgrade to that, what you want to do is open a new tab and go to santrelmedia.com/Elementor. And that'll bring you to here, and you'll just go and pay for that. I believe it's a one-time payment. Maybe it's a yearly payment. Let's go to pricing. It's a yearly payment for this one, $49 per year for personal. And obviously you get lots of widgets, lots of templates, and a lot of other functionality that as you start growing your website, it becomes more and more useful. So once you're making a profit on your website, it's one of the first things I recommend upgrading. And it's something, again, that I've been using for a while. But regardless, the free version works well when you're starting out. And we have a lot of other things down here. So, experiment with these. If you're interested in like a progress bar, we can add a progress bar. It's going to show, maybe for a resume, this would be a great example. It's like my skill, what you're at for that one. And there's a lot of other things like that. But really, when you get down to the bottom, you start getting back to some other kind of different things that are not especially useful. But SoundCloud, shortcode's really going to be if you have any kind of third-party thing, a third-party app that you want to add into here, you're going to use shortcode for that. You can have anchors, sidebars, lots of stuff like that. Again, experiment with this on your own time, but you get the idea of how things really work. When you're done, if you like this page, which obviously this page looks like crap, but if you did, like you would go down and say publish. You could also click on the little up icon, save it as a draft, and it's going to be saved as a draft that's obviously not published, so nobody else can see it except for you. So let's close out of this one. It'll bring us back to one of our other pages here on the dashboard. So from our dashboard, if we click on dashboard on the top, I want to talk about what we're actually dealing with here. And then I'm going to get into how to edit the website we already have using Elementor. So first things first, on the top, you'll have a little updates icon or updates tab. And if you go to updates, you'll see that we have some things that we can do. We can update some other themes. These are completely irrelevant because we're not using these themes. But regardless, you usually want to go through to see your plugins and your themes and just say update themes. It's going to update everything. A lot of times updates come maybe once a week, every other week, whatever. And it's good to keep things up to date. It's going to be improving little security things, functionality things, making sure everything works properly on your website. And obviously it doesn't cost you anything other than like a minute or two to do that. Definitely make sure you keep things up to date. Post is going to be things that you release as a blog post. This is not going to be like your homepage. It's not your privacy policy. These are going to be things that if you release an article that is going to be how to make coffee in 10 minutes, that would be a post that you would make right here. And the good thing is creating a post, if we say add new, is very similar to making any other page. If we go to edit with Elementor, you'll see that it looks almost exactly the same. We can use templates for this one as well, and it makes things a lot faster, but regardless, I'm not going to go through this because editing a post is almost exactly the same as editing a page. So I'm going to close out of this. I should not have closed out of that. Let's go back to our WordPress dashboard. Again, if you end up wondering how to get to your WordPress dashboard, you can always do it from your hosting your dashboard here, and you go down to edit website. It'll bring you to your WordPress dashboard. Continuing down, media is not something that important, or at least not right now. This is going to be when you're editing your website, all the pictures that you have uploaded and are being saved on your site. These are the ones available. So from here, it's not really that exciting. I'm not going to do anything with this one. You could delete them if you want, but regardless, we're just keeping the template ones. Pages, like I said, is going to be your about page, your contact us page, home, all the stuff that is going to be on your navigation menu. And I'll show you exactly what navigation looks like in a second. But mostly, these are going to be your main pages. Comments, I usually disable these, but people can comment on articles or on your posts up there, and your comments will show up here. So if you see spam comments, you can filter them here, you can delete them, and you can respond to them, do whatever you need to do from here. From Elementor, you have some settings. I'm not gonna go into the settings for that because there's really not a whole lot you need to change when you're starting. Templates is something that is really cool. Again, one of the reasons that it's helpful to upgrade to Elementor Pro is that you can make templates, and a template would essentially be, so let me show you an example here. So if we go to santrelmedia.com, like just regular santrelmedia.com, and we go to maybe like Shopify versus BigCommerce, you'll see right here, this is part of a template. So we have our article all down here. This is our normal article. But at the top, this whole thing, we have saved as a template. So we can apply this to every single article we make, and it saves us a lot of time. So we don't have to go and remake this every single time. Obviously, we customize it for each template, but regardless, it's going to be something that when you're writing articles, if you think there's going to be something similar on the top for every single one, you can save it as a template. Like I said, this one we technically customize every time, but it's from a base template that we just kind of duplicate. Very easy to do, saves us a ton of time. So templates are great for articles or really anything else you want, pop-ups, stuff like that. And pop-ups, you can also, again, do a lot more with that when you go pro with Elementor. Going down, WordPress Forms, that's a plugin. You might see some different plugins here if you start adding more. And so the dashboard is going to look a little different. Going to appearance, this is where you can customize your theme. I'm not going to do that right now either because the theme we have, I think, looks just fine. The plugins, though, this is really where you start to get a lot of functionality on your website. We have a lot of things that it came with a lot of things, an anti-spam thing, WordPress migration, a lot of other things, Lightspeed cache, lots of stuff here. So you can go through, and if you decide that you don't want something, like you don't need the WordPress migration, you can just click on that and go to move it to the trash. So we'll go to, first you have to deactivate it, and then you can delete it. Now, I don't really care about that right now, so I'm not going to do that this moment, but we can go and add some other ones. So if we go to add new, you'll see there are a ton of different things we can add. And you want to be careful that things don't conflict. So if we have Jetpack and we have something else that does the same exact thing as Jetpack, it's going to slow down your website. It's not going to be worth it to have both of those, and you're going to run into problems. But regardless, if you're ever wondering how to add functionality to your website, in most situations, it's going to be with a plugin. So if you want to capture emails, just go on over here, find a way to capture emails, and you can just add that plugin. If you want to add a little free quiz, again, if you just want to say, like, for example, like quiz, there's probably going to be some kind of plugin that can give you a quiz right here, quiz and survey master, stuff like that. So a lot of stuff you can add to your website. Again, I'm not going to dive into those too much in this website or in this tutorial. So going down to users, this is where you can add other people. So if I want to add somebody right now, we can add somebody that is, sorry, let's get rid of this thing. I really don't want that on the top. So we can add a new user, and we can give them a username, email, and they can be a subscriber, they can be a contributor, they can be an author, they can be an editor, or they can be an admin. Obviously, be careful who's going to be an admin for your site because they could do really whatever they want on there. Now, I'm not going to add users at this second, but if we go down to settings, that's really the next thing I want to talk about. In settings, we have a lot of options here. The first thing is the website title. So the website title, we actually want this to be something that looks a little better than that. So we're going to say Santrel Media Tutorials. And then our tagline can be, we teach you how to make a website. And our URL, I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to change that. You don't want to break your website. That's a real fast track to breaking your website. But going down, the default, everyone's going to be subscriber. Yes, we can change the date format, the time format. Looks fine to me. Weekday starts on Monday. Sure, we're going to save changes for this one. And then we can go down to writing. So writing is really not going to do a whole lot here, but it's going to say by default, you can add, so we'll talk about categories in a second, but if you want by default all of your articles to go to a single category, you can choose that right here. And then your post format, again, you can choose here as well. So I'm not changing anything else here. Going down to reading, nothing we want to change here. Discussion looks fine to me. Media is, again, nothing to worry about here, but permalinks is something that we should be changing. So permalinks means that every page of our website is going to be set up like this. So santrelwebsite.com/question P equals, I don't want to do that. So instead, I think what we want to do is go down to something like this, the post name. So if we make an article that is how to make coffee, then this will be santreltutorialwebsite.com/ how to make coffee. And I think that's a really easy, convenient way to have your website set up so people can navigate. Google can effectively identify websites or pages on your website. And overall, it's going to make your website just better in general. So that's usually what I go with, the post name one. And we definitely want to save changes on that. And other than that, there's nothing else in settings we really need to change. So what I was showing you guys was actually how to make categories. And categories are right up here in post. So if we hover over post, you'll see that this shows up. If we go to categories, right now, there's just an unnamed category or uncategorized category, which means that everything by default is being thrown into that. So if we want to make a new category, let's say that we are a clothing company. We can make a category that is a bunch of posts that are related to shoes. We can make another category about t-shirts, or maybe on the other hand, if you're making a blog about recipes, you're cooking, right? You can make a category on like desserts, one on entrees, whatever you want to do. I think you get the idea of how you'd make different categories. Again, very easy to do. You just need a name. The slug is essentially going to be what comes after your domain. So santrelmediatutorials.com or santreltutorialwebsite.com/what. And that's going to be the slug. So santreltutorialwebsite.com/recipes. And that's going to be this category. If you have a parent category, you can add that here. Usually you don't need that. And then, of course, the description as well, so that Google can identify what that is and other people can identify that as well. So I think that's pretty much everything I want to show you in the dashboard. It's really easy to set that stuff up, but now let's actually go back and start editing our website just a little bit more. So if we go down to pages, go to all pages, and it's going to show us this right here. Now, if we want to edit, say, the homepage, for example, we can go down here and click Edit with Elementor. When you're editing with Elementor, like I showed you before, we have all the tools on the left side here. And the first thing you want to do is kind of try to figure out what they did for each section. So on the top, you can see we have the parallax image. And really what I suspect they did before we click on this is they have the entire section. They have a background image on the section that you can see because it stretches from the side all the way to the other side. Down here, they have a lower border on that section. That's a setting that I actually didn't show you guys, but it's a cool thing you can do. You can add borders on there. And so this one obviously has a radius. And it looks like we have probably 2 columns here. On the right, we have everything left justified, all of our text. And then here, looks like it's probably just a spacer. We can find out for sure now if we actually start clicking on stuff. So here, it looks like this actually might be, it actually might all be 1 column, but just all right justified. I would have made this as 2 columns, but you could do it however you want. As we go down, you can see this one's definitely 3 columns. We have a column here. In each one, we have a little icon. Then we have some text, icon and some text, icon and some text. So really easy to customize whatever you want with this one. So we can go and like double click on that. We can edit that. It actually looks like, so we chose our icon, sure. And everything through here, I mean, it's going to be really easy to customize this stuff. You just double click on it. You say, I don't want this image, and you change it to whatever, any other image you want. So let's say, fine, this image. And that's our new image. We can go down here and we'll see that this right here, these little animations are just animating whatever text you want. So we can have the ending number and whatever text below that to say like, angry people, angry customers. And we can have this, duration is going to be, sure, that length, and we can have this go up to 12 million. It looks really cool, honestly. It looks a little, it might not look smooth right now because we're in the editor, but once you go onto your website from your full browser, it looks really good. And so we can have a number prefix. We can, change some different stuff like here. So if we want to have a suffix, we can say minus. And so we can have that, or we could say a plus at the end. That way it could be like even more than that, right? And so we can change this stuff. You really get the idea of how these things work. And then down here, in case you're wondering how they have that leaf there, I believe what that is a background for this entire section. So if we go and click on the section, click on that, we'll go to style, and it looks like, it looks like the leaf is a picture that they just moved up to the top right corner. So that's the position of it. And it looks fine. It looks good. I like that. But you can change it, of course, if you want. Instead of that, maybe we want something like this one here. So we can insert the media. And you'll see that that is now the background. It's not really that white, so this one doesn't blend in very well. But if you chose a different one, I forget which one was on there before, but I'll say this one, for example, we can insert that one, and that'll show up in the top as well. But again, it's white, and we have kind of a creamy background on this page. So as you go down, tons of stuff you can change, customize all of this. Very, very easy to do, and I highly recommend. Everyone's obviously going to have a different template and different things to do, but that's really the next step you want to do. So then when we click update, this page is then going to be live, and we're pretty much ready to go with that. If we click on the little hamburger icon, click on exit to dashboard, and then click on the WordPress icon, that'll bring us back to here. Now, one other thing you really want to do is actually go into any one of these, click on edit instead of not edit with Elementor, but just regular edit, and you'll see that we have some things that we can change. This is more of your SEO style, your search engine optimization, and you can change some things. So permalink is one thing that the homepage doesn't have one. But this is what I was saying before with the URL slug. You'd be able to change that here. So for the about page, let's actually check the about page, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. If we go to about page, go to edit, and you'll have the URL slug here. So it's going to be santreltutorialwebsite.com/about. And it could be instead like our story. It could be whatever you want. And so you can change that right here. Similarly, you can have a featured image. This is great if it's being shared on social media. You can have somewhere down here, you should be able to change some other SEO settings. So like discussion right there, page attributes, and asterisk settings as well. No, this is pretty limited. The setting I was looking for was actually the excerpt, but that is going to be something that we're not seeing right here. So a plugin that I highly recommend you get, and again, it's another free one. And so we can search for, we can go to add new. So plugins, add new. And this one's called Yoast SEO. Yoast SEO. No, it always corrects to toast. We want Yoast. Yoast with a Y. SEO. Click enter. We are going to search for this. And it, again, really, really popular. Over 5 million installations. 27,000 people gave it a good review there. And so we can go and install this now. So installing plugins, like I said, is pretty much the same process as installing themes, where you click install, and then once it's installed, we will want to activate that. So Yoast SEO will allow us to do all kinds of stuff with optimizing our posts and our pages. It makes things easier. It kind of rates your SEO as well, lets you know what you need to change, and it gives you some extra tools to do that. So while this is happening right here, there we go, it's installed. Let's click activate. It is going to be applied to our dashboard here, and so you'll see that on the left side, it should show up as Yoast SEO. There it is, Yoast SEO down on the bottom. You can change settings down there. That'll be general settings across your entire site, but I'll make an entire tutorial on how to use Yoast SEO in a future video. If you guys want to see that, consider subscribing down below. Click the bell icon so you don't miss future videos, but regardless, really, I think the only other thing I wanted to show you in this video was changing the menus. So if we go to appearance and go down to menus, this is going to be your navigation. So if I go up here and open the website, you'll see what I'm talking about. Across the top, this is our navigation. So we have get a quote. This is a button that is just going to link to whatever. And then this is our navigation. So if we want another page to show up here, or if there's a page that's not showing up here, we can change that over here in the menus. So the first menu, really the main menu is what we're talking about, is right here. So this is saying that this is invalid. We don't want that to be there. And so we just want to get rid of that. We'll click the down arrow and say remove. But we can add all kinds of things. We can add pages, we can add posts. So if you want to have a specific article linked on the top, you can do that. You can add a custom link. So this could be something to maybe your email or a link to whatever you want. So I'm going to link to maybe santrelmedia.com. And make sure we have on the top, on the beginning of that, we want to have HTTPS. And we want to add this to the menu. Maybe we're going to call this one Santrel. We'll add it to the menu, and there it is on the bottom. And you can rearrange these by click and dragging up and down. So we want this to be right there. Click and drag them up and down, and that's going to rearrange where they show up left to right. So this is the top, that's the bottom. And so as we're rearranging here, we're moving it to the left. Now, if you want this to be a sub item, so maybe we want to show services as a sub item of, or we want services and we want about to both be sub items of Santrel, you just click and drag them to the right. Now, when we save this menu, it should publish that automatically. And when we go over here, unless our cache is the problem, let's go and refresh this. It should look new. And there we go. Now we have a drop-down menu, and those other two items are here. Obviously, we want to be customizing that because we don't want them to be white until you hover. That's a little bit of an issue with the theme, but we can customize that, again, very easily in our settings. And so we can also add a menu to the footer, so header, footer menus, whatever you want. You can customize the header and footer as well within the asterisk settings, and you can add some different things to them. But for the most part, I would really recommend, it saves you a lot of work if you choose a footer based, or if you choose a template that has a good header and a footer. It just saves you a lot of time because it is a little bit less easy to edit the header and footer than it is to edit the rest of the page. This is not going to be quite as drag and drop, but regardless, that's pretty much everything you'll need to know when you're starting your website. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. The next step is definitely to just go out there and start making your own website. Go to your pages, start customizing them, start moving things around, change how things look, and you'll really start to get a feel for how Elementor works. It's really easy, nice drag and drop editor. And if you have any questions, definitely leave comments down below. I'll do my best to answer as many as possible. And if you already know what you're doing, I recommend checking out the comments as well, so that you guys can help each other whenever I'm not available to answer your questions. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider liking, share with somebody else who's also interested in making a website. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.